So according to sources, the Philadelphia 76ers are shopping Tobias Harris, Matisse Thybulle, and a couple other players. Also, a guard off the bench for this team seems to be on his way back, but is it the right move? We'll talk about all that and break down a whole bunch more on today's show. Let's go.
Perfect.
What is going on, everybody? RB here. Welcome into Philly Take with RB. Like always, leave a like if you do enjoy this video. Subscribe if you want to see more, and be sure to ring that bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos or live streams. A lot of people have been saying that they aren't getting notifications, so be sure to double check. You don't want to miss any of this content the next couple weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, you know, there was an influx of news earlier today with the whole Sam Cassell thing. We just covered that a little while ago. And, you know, this was one of those heavy news days where it just keeps on piling on top of each other. And we got a huge bomb of an article right after that news came out. So, you know, we have to break it all down. But with that being said, let's just get right into it. So earlier today, Pompey dropping an article, just giving some opinions, some thoughts, talking about some inside stuff relating to this team for the upcoming offseason. Pompey, the Sixers are gauging trade interest in Tobias Harris, Matisse Thybulle, and others. And if you've been keeping up with this content here on the channel, we've been talking about this for a little while. Thybulle, right? A trade, some potential partners, a couple mock trades. You know, whether the Sixers view him as a guy that they're, you know, going to end up signing after this next year, or whether they're going to end up parting with him. Also, Tobias Harris. You know, I dropped the video talking about how the Sixers need to trade Tobias Harris so they can create future flexibility, and that's really the best way to do so and maneuver that. But I could also expect them not to do that. Like, I could see it going both ways. So it's very interesting, but I have been saying that I think it's going to really heat up into the next week or two, especially as we get closer to the draft and the season ends, right? A lot more rumors start hitting the top of the stove there. But, you know, I think we're just getting started. I think this is obviously an important offseason, and I think there is a lot coming for this team. So hopping into this article, the first thing had a lot of layers. This whole thing is a lot of layers, so we're going to break it down. Pompey says the Sixers are trying to put things in place ahead of the June 23rd NBA draft and free agency. Multiple league sources have said this team is gauging teams' interest in Tobias Harris, Matisse Thybulle, Furkan Korkmaz, and Shake Milton, in addition to potential trade partners for Danny Green and the number 23 pick. And we discussed that as well. I'm of the opinion that, honestly, I don't think we should trade it unless there is a win now type of veteran, a guy who you can trust night in, night out, ready to rock and roll, and you could alleviate any Danny Green contract, right, and actually get something of value back. But I don't want to just give away that pick. I think there are some quality players that could probably help us as well. That is if, you know, they do get a chance early on in their career. But going even further, Pompey says the Sixers realize their current roster is not suited to win an NBA championship. They are determined to upgrade it with established players that can help propel them. So we've been hearing a lot of this smoke lately about, you know, the Sixers might go out and trade it for a veteran. So I don't know. Are we going to even draft a player? Or are we going to draft for somebody else? You know, obviously we need some of those solid role players, those core guys around your stars to help, you know, build out this team and have a bench and be able to knock shots down in the playoffs and do the little things, right? The hustle plays. So we'll see where it takes us. But going even further, it seemed like there was a lot of emphasis in this on Tobias Harris. And here's another piece from the article. Keith says the Sixers have publicly stated that they're going to bring their core players back, including Harris. However, privately, the team is once again trying to see what the market is for their fourth leading scorer behind Embiid, Harden, and Maxey. And, you know, we understand what Tobias Harris is at this point. As I say all the time, and you know it as well, like, he's that 18 points a game type of guy. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't translate to what he makes in terms of a salary. And when you're trying to build out a team and you're trying to go the depth, right, and you're trying to acquire shooters, 8th, 9th man guys off the bench, and just guys who can come in and be better than Furkan and Shake and Niang and you know, just those type of players that we need, right? We need guys, we need dogs to come in who can hit shots. not just for a span of games, but can overall, really bolster this bench. And, well, the way you do that outside of signing minimum contracts is you got to alleviate some of the salary. And right now, it seems like James Harden, by all indications, will be back. We know Joel will be back, Maxey. So the odd man out is Tobias Harris, and I like him as a player. And I actually like his game and how he transformed it later in the year. The problem is when he's going to be making, $75 million over the next couple of years, it's just hard to maneuver your team around that. And that's where the business aspect comes in. And, something's got to give. If you want to improve this team, if you want to bring in a couple, two-way value players that aren't going to make as much, but, can help fill those voids, I mean, something's got to give. But going even further into this article, Keith says they unsuccessfully tried to trade Harris in the past, as he was included in some instances in a package with Ben Simmons before the February trade deadline. We heard about that. The Sixers eventually sent Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks along with Simmons to the Nets for Harden and Millsap. The Sixers would love to acquire a third star to play alongside perennial All-Stars Embiid and Harden, and a trade would allow Harris to be more involved in a team's game plan. He has been the third or fourth option throughout the tenure here with the Sixers. Well, I don't think Tobias cares about that. I think he is a team player, and he will do what he can to adapt his game. But like I said, your third or fourth option can't be making that much if you want to have an entire successful team. But, this whole thing, it brings us back to the one question we asked at the beginning of free agency and the beginning of the offseason. And we're going to be asking it the entire time until we hear more, rumors one way or another. Are the Sixers actually going to star hunt? There's a lot of debate going on right now. Me personally, just my opinion, I think by watching these playoffs, seeing teams like Miami, Boston, Golden State, seeing some of these teams and seeing how they're progressing, I'm of the opinion that, you need 2 stars. That's it. And then you need quality role players around. Look at the teams that have been successful. I just don't know if getting a third star for this team will put us over the top. And then if a guy gets injured, which we know we are dealing with some injury concerns and definitely some scares there, then you're done because you don't have any other room to go out and make some magic happen. I think the Sixers for once need to take the opposite route, and they need to just bolster this team in every way. Get, underrated shooters. Get a couple quality defenders that can also shoot. Get a couple guys that are scrappy, right? Dogs, veteran leaders. Get a bunch of those winning type of players that have experience, that are confident, and you just know their impact is going to make this team better. I think that's what we need to do. Sometimes you got to get lucky. Sometimes you got to find diamonds in the rough. But what this tells me overall is that the Sixers are shopping some of their players because now they view that as the likely route, right? Where I don't think we're going to run this back with pretty much the same team and a couple other minimum players. What this shows me is that we are foreshadowing something big this offseason. Maybe it's a star. I don't really want to go that route. I don't want to give up a ton of assets. I think Maxey would probably have to be included in a trade anyway for a star, and I personally am not doing that based off the promise I see in the kid. But overall, I think that Daryl Morey is gearing up to, try to move off some of these contracts. The first offseason here was the Al Horford contract. Last year was the whole Ben Simmons saga. I personally think this is the Tobias Harris contract offseason, and I think he's going to move off it if I had to predict. But we're just going to have to wait and see. Another thing is Matisse Thybulle, which we have been discussing, and, is he going to improve his shot? If not, I mean, how valuable is he to your team for how long? How long in the season? Get down to the playoffs. Is he that valuable? I mean, I don't know. But lastly, Keith says that Harris's contract is the best way to facilitate the type of move that would bring another max salary player to a Sixers team over the cap. But the Sixers will have to find a team willing to take on salary. They may have to include assets, perhaps a third team involved as well to entice a squad with available cap space to take on the Harris deal. And Thybulle was deemed untouchable before last season's trade deadline. The Sixers' refusal to trade him was a small holdup in the Nets trade. And unfortunately, it kind of looks like we should have kept Seth Curry. And those are the kinds of players we need. I mean, I wish Thybulle would start hitting his shots. I really hope he's in the gym every day knocking down. But there are a lot of expendable pieces. When the offseason started, I said the only 2 Sixers that are guaranteed to be back are Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. And it seems like James Harden they're going to rock with. Hope he gets healthier and hope he can do something. If not, you're either going to have to trade him or move on from him. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, but I think what they're going to do is try to align this team the best way possible around the three of them, Maxey, Harden, and Embiid, and see how it goes from there. And then the last piece here, in the article, Keith Pompey had reported that Shake Milton was not expected to have his option picked up for this year, that it was, you know, according to executives, they didn't believe the Sixers were going to, but a conflicting report comes out a little while later from Michael Scotto, and he says sources say the Sixers are expected to exercise their $2 million team option on guard Shake Milton, which makes sense. It's $1.9 million. You could even include that in a trade, you know, hope that he can come back and get more run and get better. I mean, that's really nothing. Shake Milton, I mean, I expected a lot from him over the last couple of years. I mean, he hasn't had the consistency. Sometimes I feel he doesn't have the right energy level. But I mean, if he could pan out, if he could get things together, he'd be another good piece for the bench. So overall, I think we need some quality upgrades. I think that's clear. And as we have gotten to the playoffs, we've seen that, right? We need different guys who can put on the floor, knock down shots, do the little things, the winning things, like I said. But I don't think it's just going to come from free agency. I think the Sixers will be active, but I think a big trade is bound to happen, because if not, I feel like we're staying in the same place. And I don't know if you can afford to do that. I don't know if you can afford to run it back and hope everything goes well. Look at the trend of these teams, how they're moving right now, man. They're going young. They're getting more athletic. Sixers are one of the slowest teams. We need more of that. And I hope somehow we can make it happen. But what this shows me overall is the Sixers are gearing up to do something. They're shopping around. They're looking. And hey, if the right opportunity comes along, you never know. Draft night coming up, big things are bound to happen. But those are just my thoughts. I want to hear from you. Give me your thoughts down below in the comment section. How do you feel about all this? Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and like always, I will catch you on the next one, man. Peace.
Perfect.